3 weeks into professional football, the referees are still a huge issue. So which teams are real and which teams aren't? Time for cold, hard football facts on Football Nation. Hi, everybody. I'm Butch Stearns. He's Kerry Byrne. Kerry, this referee situation has come to a head. The two marquee games at the end of weekend 3, the Sunday night game with the Ravens and Patriots, and the Monday night game debacle, where a lot of money changed hands and point spreads changed. Is this going to be the end of it now?
I thought it couldn't get any worse than it did Sunday night when you had 70,000 people in Baltimore chanting, you know what, BS, BS, into living rooms and bar rooms all over the country, right? That was bad enough. And then to have that debacle, the way the Seattle-Green Bay game ended, with two officials calling different plays, calling different results at the same time. It can't get any worse than it was in week 3, that's for sure.
Well, and when you see an upstart team like Seattle or Arizona, you're seeing them feeling their oats. That defense looks good for Seattle,
real good.
But you wonder how good they are. So how do we decide which teams are real or not with the refs playing such a huge part in the wins and losses?
Thankfully, we have the Cold Hard Football Facts quality stats to keep everything straight, Butch.
Nice segue. You're a true pro. So let's dive into the Atlanta Falcons, one of the 3-0 teams. Are they for real?
They're for real. Right now, they're not only for real, they're dominating our quality stats power rankings. What we do is we rank each team across the board in all our different indicators, Butch. And what we found since we created this a few years ago is that if you're tops in that indicator, you're probably a really good shot to win the Super Bowl. Just because they're number 1 right now after week 3 doesn't mean they're going to be number 1 after week 17, but you think they're going to be right in the mix.
So when we look at these numbers for folks who haven't been on Cold Hard Football Facts, these rankings are a compilation of all your Cold Hard Football Facts, the ones that correlate to victory, and the Falcons are number 1 across the board when you add up all the
When you add them up, they average on average about 4 to 5 across the board on every indicator among the 32 teams. That's pretty powerful. What it tells us, which is who has strengths across the board, or put another way, who has no weaknesses, who's the strongest teams top to bottom. Houston was number 1 last week. Atlanta jumped back on top this week. I think we're going to see those two teams flip-flop probably throughout much of the year.
Well, in your top 3 with the 3 undefeated teams.
Yeah,
so the numbers are backing up that it is no mistake. At least after 3 weeks, they're real. All right, let's go to how the Falcons have been doing it. We all know Matt Ryan is their marquee guy. Their defense has improved, but this really is the Packers, Patriots, Saints efficient scoring offense.
But I think a little stronger and better than what we saw out of those teams last year on both sides of the ball. I mean, right now, number 1 in scorability, offensive efficiency, number 1 in real quarterback rating, which takes into account all aspects of quarterback play. If you're better in that number, you win about 90% of all NFL games. Number 1 in passer rating. But here's the key, Butch. Number 1 in passer rating differential. They not only have the best passer rating in football, they're second in defensive passer rating. Right now, plus 56 in that indicator. 20 points better than the number 2 Houston Texans. As we've often noted, almost 40% of all NFL champions finished number 1 in passer rating differential. That's a very good sign for the Atlanta Falcons.
One other traditional stat that I think backs up your numbers, they're 50% on third down conversions, 18 of 36 for 3 games. Matt Ryan is always going to have, he's got plenty of time left, but he's always going to have that Charles Barkley, Dan Marino thing hanging over his head till he wins a playoff game and then gets to the big game. But we're starting to see the numbers back up that he may be taking a leap.
Well, he's taken a leap, but not only that, the defense appears improved, at least in his pass defense. I still think the Houston Texans, that when all is said and done, might end up in the top of that indicator. Atlanta still has a pretty tough schedule ahead of it. A lot of big-name quarterbacks they're going to be facing. I don't know how well that defense is going to hold up through the course of the year. But right now, if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan, you have to feel really good, Butch.
Will it be the Atlanta Falcons and Houston Texans in Super Bowl 47? The Cold Hard Football Facts say maybe after 3 weeks of the NFL season. Kerry Byrne, Butch Stearns, Cold Hard Football Facts on Football Nation.